Hello and welcome to our day 6 sew along. Today we'll be working on the neckband. Whether you've done your Henley placket or you've done just a simple flat front, we'll be doing a single fold bias tape neckband for this. I like to use store-bought single fold. It's called single fold. Let me see if you can see it here, because it has the sides folded towards the center and that's it. A double fold would have this and then a fold on the center, and that's usually it comes in wide or thinner double fold. But for this pattern we'll be using a single fold bias tape. If you don't have any store-bought, you can certainly make your own. To make your own bias tape, just cut a piece of woven on a bias. So let me grab some here. Let's say this is the grain line, this is the horizontal. So when you make your bias tapes, you would cut strips on a bias, because when you cut fabric on a bias, it has a little bit of a stretch even though it's a woven, whereas here it has nothing. If it's on a bias, see, you can stretch it a little bit. So you want your bias tape to have a little bit of a give in it if you make your own. So to mimic the store-bought one, you would be cutting strips of 1 inch strips of bias fabric on a bias, and then you'll be folding a 1/4 of an inch on each side. So ta-da, you made your own. I like to use store-bought because it saves me some time, but in a pinch you can definitely make your own. There is also attachment that will help you fold this. Let me see if I have one to show you. I did have a set here. I rarely use it, but I do have it. It's a little set that I got on Amazon that helps you make a single fold bias tape. It has like a couple of attachments, and you just use your regular sewing machine, your regular iron to feed your fabric through here, and when it pulls on the other end, it's gonna pull folded like this one. So you just run your ironing machine, or if you have one of those simplicity ones, I have one but it's in my closet, so I'd rather not go get it now. You can, that one, it's an electronic device that will make your fold, will basically iron it for you. I don't think they're selling those anymore. I got that a few years ago. So you can make your own bias tape if you don't have any store-bought one. So I like to not cut my bias tape right now. I'll just cut it when I get to the end. For the Henley placket, and I believe it's the same thing for the regular one, just start pinning around and then cut at the end. This way you'll ensure that you have the right size. Or you can measure your opening and cut, making sure to add 1/2 inch times 2, so 1 inch extra for folding in the front. So start pinning right sides together. So this is my shirt, this is my bias tape, right sides together. I'm gonna start pinning it in place, leaving 1/2 inch extra. So this is my placket, this is my extra 1/2 inch of bias tape. I'm matching the raw edges and pinning it in place. And then we'll be sewing this in the fold line, so which means a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. This is super easy. If you want to get creative with your neckband right now, you can use a double fold bias tape and just have like a little trim around your neckband. That's one hack that you could do. Or you can use one of those trims with I don't want to say pom-poms, but maybe like a rickrack. You can get very creative with your neck, especially if you're sewing for little kids with your neckband, since you're using bias tape. So We're gonna continue to pin this around. When you get to the end of your pinning, before you cut your bias tape to size, make sure that you've left, once again, ½ inch extra to finish the raw edge. It's not a hard step to do today, especially if you have store-bought bias tape. That means you're not spending any time making your own. One package would be enough, and I believe from one package you might even have enough to do the tank binding tomorrow if you've done a tank, but don't quote me on it because I'm not sure. I haven't done yeah, I did in the testing the tank option, but I don't remember how much bias tape I used. But I don't think the opening is that big, the arm opening. All right, so I'm at the end. I'm gonna pin this in place. And once again, I'm gonna leave a ½ inch extra right here. See, it makes it easier if you don't waste time measuring it first and just use the bias tape and cut it at the end. See, I have plenty left on my spool. I think if you do a tank, one package should be enough. All right, so let's go ahead and sew this with a ¼ inch seam allowance. So you're gonna be sewing in the fold of the bias tape, the top fold. It's a great way to keep that stitch constant, to just go along that fold. We don't need to serge this raw edge here because we're going to enclose it in the bias tape. I'm dying for my little Pascal. I seriously love this fabric. And Pascal is one of my favorites these days sidekicks. On a side note, not sewing related. First step is done. Now we're gonna be folding and sewing again, and that's it for today. So now it should look like this on the inside, all the way around. So now we're gonna be folding the so it's like this when you sew it. Lift it up, turn it with the wrong sides towards you. So this is how it's gonna look, and fold the extra ½ inch that we left. So now that extra ½ inch encloses the raw edge here, and then you want to fold everything down and pin it in place. So now once you fold it down, you'll have your bias tape on the inside of your dress or shirt, and on the outside it's just your beautiful fabric that you used. And because we're working on a curve, using bias tape is what makes working on this curve easily, because if you were to make your own bias tape without cutting it on the bias, so not so bias, the bias tape, if you use it, cut it a perpendicular or vertical with a grain line, then it won't have any give. So when you're sewing it in place on a curve like it is on the neckline, it would pucker and it would look so not polished. That's why it's imperative that you use either store-bought bias tape or you make your own but cut on a bias. This way the curves look nice and smooth. Of course, right now you can just go ahead and press to make sewing easier. And I got to the other end of my handy. So now I'm at this end. I'm gonna go ahead and fold like I did before. Let me snip my threads here. Fold like I did before. And fold one more time. So I'll repeat. It's like this right now, right? Fold the inside and then fold one more time. So everything is enclosed. So now your neckline should look something like this. On the right side, you have just your fabric, and on the wrong side of the dress, you have your bias tape. Like this. So now you're gonna be stitching on the right or the wrong side, whatever you prefer, depending on. I like to use the purple thread for the main fabric, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch on the wrong side like this. This way my bobbin, that's is it purple or black? I wanted it purple, so let me just switch it up here. So my bobbin that now will have purple fabric will show on the main front. And my pale blue would be on the bias tape. Alright. Same straight stitch. Make sure your corners are nice and sharp. And your bias tape is enclosed. And I'm sewing as close as I possibly can get it to the edge of the bias tape. Go slow, make sure there's no puckering under the bias tape like on the main fabric. Super cute and super easy. But again, this is a step where you can get creative. You can put your bias tape on the outside instead of the inside. So basically, instead of starting right sides right sides together, start the wrong sides together and fold it towards the outside. This way your bias tape would be on the outside. It's gonna look like a little collar. Or you can use double fold and just enclose the whole thing, but it will make it a little heavier, I think. So you can most certainly make it your own by just playing around with the neckline. It's a little bulkier here with all the folds, so I'm going slower. Alright, so So that's it for today. I'll go give it a good press, snap my picture to post it on the day 6 comments. And I'll see you back here tomorrow when we'll be finishing the dresses. We'll be working with the sleeves and the bottom hem. So this is what it looks like right now. On the front, you have your main fabric. On the inside, you have beautifully finished neckline, no raw edges, with the bias tape. All right, my friends, I'll see you back here tomorrow to finish our branch blouse project.